And we are live now. Okay, so welcome everybody to the third episode of the 2016 Student Startup Race Online Bootcamp. Our goal today is to help you to get an edge over your competition. It's entitled GoLearn. It's great to see the numbers going up, so welcome everybody. It's exciting. Okay, yeah, so many thanks to those of you who took action previously, who paid the £10 entry fee. And I hope you've been thinking about your minimum revenue product. What is the smallest thing you can do to get learning and by talking to your customers and trying to sell something? Hopefully you got some good ideas. Please let us know in the chat box what they are. And Dan, my trusty assistant, is going to be monitoring the chats and let me know if we have any questions as well. So please give us your questions. We are going to try our best to answer them, because we want you to be successful. We want you to grow your startup over the summer holidays, save you having to work in Tesco's, stacking shelves, working in a pub, or just really working as an intern, doing filing, something that isn't really challenging you. So instead, we want you to have the best summer of your life, running your own startup and becoming a successful entrepreneur. So today, we're going to talk about how to get the edge over your competition. Now, it's going to be a bit more interactive. I'm going to try and share some resources with you today. And so just bear with me if that doesn't go as smoothly as it could, because we normally use Zoom. Actually, Zoom is a great tool for online conferencing, but we want to enable as many people as possible to join us, so we're using Google Hangouts on Air. Okay, so the thing I'm going to talk about today is called the Lean Canvas. I can't ask you to put your hands up if you've ever heard of the Lean Canvas, but you can put your hand up if you have anyway. I won't see, but you can take part. Okay, so the Lean Canvas was the business model canvas was introduced by Alex Osterwalder, then Ash Moria, who's a serial entrepreneur from Texas, San Antonio, I believe, decided to adapt it to make it more appropriate for software entrepreneurs or people who want to embrace the lean startup methodology of build, measure, learn. So the Lean Canvas can help you to build a business model rather than wait 6 months writing a business plan that no one will ever read and will become out of date almost as soon as you have finished writing it. So I'm going to try and share my screen with our canvas. Okay, so this is what the Lean Canvas looks like. This section over here on the right is something I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But the Lean Canvas is essentially, you start off with who is your customer segment, list your target customers, and then you go to the problem. What problems do they have, existing alternatives, and then you move to your unique value proposition. But actually, I like to do number 4, solution. So what Ash Moria recommends is that you take 20 minutes to complete your Lean Canvas, and this is something that we suggest you do in the resource we've built for the student startup race. We're going to give you signpost you, give you links so you can open up your own free account with the Lean Canvas. And so the idea is you put your customers here, your problems they have, and outline a solution for them. Now, the reason this box is small is because it's to prevent entrepreneurs from falling in love with the solution and building something nobody wants. We talked about that in the last session. And so we talked about the minimum revenue product. We would actually, if we were to do our own canvas, we would put minimum revenue product in here. And so you can get the learning that you need. If you've ever heard of the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule, spending 20 minutes on this will give you 80% of the learning that you need to get. Now, of course, I've just made a comparison between time and learning, and they're not really relatable. It's just a convenience. But essentially, just spending 20 minutes to complete this canvas will enable you to really accelerate your progress and understanding. And it's what you do with this canvas that will give you an edge over your competitors, because it's being agile, it's being nimble, it's being really digging deep to try and find out what the problem your customer has that will enable you to differentiate from them. Another thing I'd like to just add is that using this business model, lean canvas, will prevent overwhelm. I remember in the past I've looked at forms and I've just answered questions that people have suggested I answer, and it's just, where do you begin? It's just impossible. Whereas this one-page business model canvas is much easier to get your head around. Okay, so I'm just going to stop that briefly and go back to the live screen. Any feedback on that, Dan?
No, not really. It's a great system. The great thing about it is that if there's any area that you're unsure of, you can leave that blank and fill it in later. So just sort of follow it as you'd like to. Try and get as much done as you can in 20 minutes or whatever. Try and do it all in one session so it's fresh in your mind. But if there's any area that you don't know how to answer, just come back to and try and fill it in later. But use it as a reference point as you go along.
And what you just mentioned is also taught by Ash Moria. He writes about, and actually we've embedded one of his videos on the startup race on the tool that we've created for the competitors to watch. And he talks about how PayPal, Airbnb, and significant others changed their plans and as they were going. Now, if you've written, again, it's like if you've invested £50,000 in a fancy widget or some sort of software tool, it's hard for you to throw it, to say, look, we're going to scrap this and have a fresh start, because you've invested all this money. That's why a minimum revenue product is a lot easier for you to walk away from. And so too is the business model canvas. If you spent 20 minutes on creating your canvas and you think, nah, it's not really working, let me just try another one, then it's far easier to do that. Whereas if you spent 6 months writing your business plan and investors are telling you it's a load of rubbish, or advisors or lawyers, or it's not working out for one reason or another, it's actually really difficult to walk away from that. Now, Eric Ries, who is who wrote the Lean Startup and popularized the idea of the Lean Startup, told a story in his book of the time he spent 6 months writing code. And I can't remember the name of his company at that point.
I think he spent IMVU, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. You just say it again, Dan?
IMVU.
Yeah, IMVU. That's right. So he spent 6 months writing code for IMVU, only to find that it wasn't going to work and the customers were not interested in buying. Now, obviously, the cost of 6 months' salary can be quite high, especially if you're living in Silicon Valley, because the rents are massive. So it was, a massive waste of time, energy, and money on his part. And then he thought, well, maybe that's the price of learning, and I needed to pay that price to get the learning. And so he kind of felt less depressed. He was thinking, oh yeah, it was worthwhile. And then he got depressed again, because he thought, well, maybe I could have got this learning far more quickly in a week. And that, of course, is what we're trying to help you with today, is to understand how you can get learning, be agile, move more quickly, get input, get insight, and improve your startup's competitiveness really quickly. And so this is one of the things that the Lean Canvas will help you to do. Now, with the startup race, we've actually created numerous canvases, because we are solving the problem for numerous people. We are solving the problem for entrepreneurs like yourself. And so we have a canvas for entrepreneurs. We are solving problems for investors. Believe it or not, investors have a problem. It's lack of deal flow. And so the solution that we're going to provide investors with is we're going to use the startup race to find entrepreneurs who are leagues ahead of everybody else, because they are intelligent, they use the latest tools, they get out there and try and sell a minimum revenue product. And so investors will be happy for us to introduce them to people who are really different. Yeah, entrepreneurs are really smart and clever and entering the startup race. So, and we've also, so think about your business model. Very often it's multi-sided. So for instance, Amazon is a multi-sided business model, so they should have a canvas for the sellers, people who sell stuff on Amazon, and then you have a canvas for the buyers. So the great thing about the business model canvas, it helps you to look at the perspective from two different situations, which will give you a massive advantage over somebody who's not using the lean canvas. Just trying to think of another example. Can you think of one, Dan?
No, sorry, I can't. I'm not.
I keep putting you on the spot. Maybe I should pull my earlobe and say I'm going to go to you in a moment.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's the Ash Muria. He has many examples of when he's used it and stuff.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't have any. I've used it a few times myself when I've been mocking up ideas, because it only takes 15 minutes. So if you've got an idea that you think sounds all right, but you can't quite manage to envisage all the things in your head, you just write it down on the business model, and you can actually see how it would work instead of just how great it sounds. Does it actually have any backbone to it?
Yeah. So I used the business model canvas for my startup and my other startup in Life previously, because we had 3 customers. We had the people who were going to buy the products on Life. We had the coaches who were going to be creating the content that was going to be sold, and then we had the our affiliate marketers, the people who were going to promote the content and get paid. And so Udemy or Mindvalley Academy or any of these other Kajabi, they are very similar. They have a multi-sided business model, and so using a canvas can help you to understand them and make progress. Okay, so what else I want to say? So the new thing that we're bringing to the lean canvas is in the definition of the problem that your customer has, because very often you look at your customer's problem and you think, okay, let me try and solve this for them. Now, you have to differentiate between the symptom and the underlying cause of the problem that your customer has. So let's think of a problem we have. So let's say with global warming, that's perhaps not a very good example. I should have thought of a good one, clearly.
Hard one.
What's that, sorry?
Very hard one to try and solve.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna use screen share again, because I did prepare one, and this is based on our thinking for the startup race. So on the right-hand side here, we've done this for startup founders. So the stats are not very good. 95% of startups fail. That essentially is a symptom. Okay, so we're looking on the right-hand side here. So when we think about the causes, well, why did they fail? Well, some of them chase after funding rather than building a customer-funded business. And the stats tell us that only 1% of startups get funded. That is, and there's a reference here at the bottom. Is your startup a high-growth VC type? So that's that's external research that's given us that information at the top there. So there is a process that you can go through. It's Eric Ries's 5 whys. So you have a symptom and you ask a question, well, why did this? I'm going to swap screen shares for the moment.
The 5 whys was actually created long before Eric Ries.
Yeah, Toyota.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to find my other document here that I've prepared for everyone to have a look at. Okay, if I bring it on screen. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to share. Okay, so this is my take on the 5 whys process. So you start off by asking, what is the problem that you have, and then you go through the 5 whys. So here's an example that Eric Ries talks about in his book. So we've suddenly started to receive complaints from customers about a new version of the product we've just released. Why did a new release disable a feature for customers? Answer: because a particular server failed. Why did the server fail? Because an obscure subsystem was used in the wrong way. Why was an obscure subsystem used in the wrong way? Because the engineer didn't know how to use it properly. Why didn't he know how to use it properly? Because he was never trained. Why wasn't he ever trained? Because his manager doesn't believe in training new engineers because he and his team are busy. So, and of course, that is the thing that you need to address. you need to address the underlying cause so that you can prevent the problem from occurring again. So you need to think about how this applies to you in your startup. Okay, so you have a customer in mind and you're looking at the problem that they have. You need to think, okay, is this a symptom or is this the cause of the problem? How can I determine what the underlying cause of their problem is? And you can use, we're going to give you this resource on our website once you've signed up and entered the competition, because we want you to be successful as much as possible, and so we're going to give you the resources that that you need. Okay, so I'll maybe just screen share again the startup race. And in the meantime, just ask Dan if anybody has posted any questions.
Let's see. Let's have a quick look. Unfortunately, none on YouTube, and I don't think we'll have any on Hangouts. No, all good to go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Dan? I muted my microphone for a moment.
Yeah, can hear you that.
Okay, great. So we're going to look at the. Okay, we're going to look at this again. Okay, so this is what we thought about the process that entrepreneurs face. 95% of them fail, and we thought that one of the causes. Now, of course, there could be two causes, and so you can have two trees that you can go down. It becomes quite difficult, but using a process, it makes it a bit easier. So one of the causes that they fail is that they chase after funding rather than building a custom funded business. And they waste time and money and anguish over building the solution into somebody nobody wants. The cause is that they can't get into an incubator or accelerator that uses Launchpad Central or the startup race tools to prevent this from happening. Now, you could say that, can you think of another mistake that entrepreneurs often make, Dan?
Early stages, you spend a lot of time, like us ourselves, we nearly spent a few hours creating a logo. And at the time, we really needed to get on with development tasks and build the website, create all our contact forms and get our stuff out to people. But there's this sort of stuff like, oh no, I need a logo, I need email addresses, I need all this sort of stuff. As long as you have one obvious email address, you don't need to assign everybody in your team email addresses. As long as you have a name for your business, you don't need a logo until you're actually operating properly. And there's other things like that that are just very much image and not so much about actually getting stuff done. So you can really 80-20 the actual process of starting your company and working out what is going to be the 20% that I need to do that will get me 80% of the results. And if it doesn't fit there, I would get on with the 20% that gives you the 80, and later on employ someone else to do your logo or employ somebody else to do whatever it is that is hindering you from getting to your customers and selling your product.
Okay, Dan. So we have a symptom there of entrepreneurs perhaps making mistakes in worrying about a logo and other features on their business. Why would you say that happens? What's the underlying cause of them spending that time and money on those things?
Probably feature push. Feature push is this concept whereby it's the founder that decides what is going to be uploaded, what's going to be made, and what's going to be presented in the business. And it's not the customer. The other option is feature pull, which is whereby your customer says, okay, well, actually, this is what I want, and this is why I want it. And if enough people want it, you then create it. So a logo is just so that later on, somebody can see what you want. Now, we will need a logo. We'll probably create a logo by the end of the student startup race. But in order to get students and get people on it, we didn't need it at that time. So we had to make sure that we got development done, because we realized that there was demand, feature pull, for the race that we were doing. Whereas would this demand be hindered if we didn't really have a logo? Very slightly, but nowhere near as much as if we didn't have these videos or the actual website that we're building in itself. So
Okay, Dan. Why don't people understand the difference between feature push and feature pull?
I think people get too caught up with the idea of sort of making this amazing business from day one. They try and create this sort of this huge business that's going to be like the next Airbnb from the outset. People are scared of launching something that they're embarrassed of. And there's a famous quote about being embarrassed about launching too early. Do you remember what it is?
No, not off the top of my head.
I think it's Reid Hoffman. He says, if you're not embarrassed of the first product you launch, you've launched too late.
Yeah, yeah.
Along those lines.
Okay,
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just trying to use the 5 whys analysis here to go from worrying about your logo to the underlying root cause. So you said that people spend too much time, so they don't understand how to use feature pull, feature push, and I asked you why that was, and you said it's because they don't want to be embarrassed by what they're putting out there, and they think that it has to be a really look nice. Why do you think people get fixated on things looking nice rather than rough and basic?
Because they think that it's going to affect how people buy the product. Whereas if you show them the product and are willing to change it to what they say, then that's going to give you more success than trying to change other things around the product than just changing the product according to what they want.
And why do you think they think that people won't buy a perfectly wonderful, attractive product?
Probably because they think that there'll be competition out there that looks better or has better marketing or whatever behind it. Whereas the point of what you're selling is that it is the unique solution to the problem, and therefore that you don't really have any other competition. So you don't need to look better than the competition, but you need to work better than the hatchet job solution which people currently have.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the underlying root cause here. I think it's lack of serial entrepreneurs, people who've been around for a while, people who've been reading the Lean Startup, people who've been using business model canvases know and understand these things. But for first-time entrepreneurs, it's a lack of knowledge, and it's a lack of information, it's a lack of awareness that leads to a high percentage of these startups failing. Would you agree with that, Dan?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also being scared. Being an entrepreneur means you have to put yourself out there, and it's about risk. And a lot of people try and decrease that risk by trying to look like some sort of super professional business, and that's not going to happen. You've got to sort of really push yourself and put yourself out there.
Yeah, I think that there's another customer segment that's really switched on and is looking out for this kind of thing, and it's investors. So if investors have a choice, two companies who are providing the same service, one of them is obsessing over making their product really good, spending lots of time thinking about the features that the customers have, and spending money on hiring developers to build all these extra features, then the runway of these startups, the amount of money that they're going to burn through is actually going to be far quicker. So if an investor only has £100,000, he doesn't want it to be spent on extras and nice things to have. He wants to spend that money on entrepreneurs who are going to be lean, who are going to concentrate most of the time on getting out talking to customers, just really understanding doing the 5 whys analysis on their customers, and so they can tackle the underlying cause of the customer problem. Hardly anybody does this in Scotland, and here is a massive opportunity for competitors or participants in the student startup race to gain an edge. So if you take what we've put into practice, then you can really focus on what really counts, what really matters, So you get your minimum revenue product, you get out there and you talk to customers, and you find out whether it really does solve their problem. And you're using a network to get some feedback as well, to introduce you to people who will, perhaps investors, who will look at you working hard to get this feedback from your customers with your minimum revenue product, and they say, wow, this team are different from the rest because they are really working hard on solving a customer problem rather than being sold to you by software developers who just want to justify their budget spend. So I would just like to say that, you know, we're giving you these resources in the startup race and in the members portal area. You can use these tools yourself to really think about how, you know, discovering customers who will give you feedback, that will give you the answers perhaps to the underlying root causes of the problems that they're facing. And of course, if you have any questions about these resources, these tools, these opportunities, you can get in touch with us. So here's your last chance. We've got 4 minutes left before this hangout is over. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask us, please put them in the box now. Dan will look out for them so we can hopefully answer them before it's over.
Yeah, there's none as of yet, unfortunately. Nobody's.
Okay, so this session was titled GoLearn. Okay, so we want you to really take some time to think about discovering the underlying root cause your customer has, so you can find a way to solve their real problem. And of course, if you're able to do that, then they will be incredibly happy and supportive of what you're trying to do, and more likely tell their friends about you as well, because you are really standing out from the competition, because you just really have this lean mindset. Okay, so some action for you. If you've not done it already, please go to the website, click on the orange button below, and pay your £10 entry fee so you can take part in the student startup race. We want you to take part and have the chance to win thousands of pounds prize money. Of course, that is just the icing on the cake, because the process that we're going to give you will really enable you to accelerate your startup and make tremendous progress over the summer holidays. We want you to become a highly successful entrepreneur within 2 months or even a month, because of the information we're giving you is based on learning and suffering that we have personally experienced. Like I said before, this is my 6th startup. If I had known what I'm telling you today in 1991, I would be in a very different situation. And you know, just like Eric Ries, I could say, why did I have to wait so long? Why did it have to take me so many years to learn this information? Did I have to pay the price to learn it? Okay, that's a comforting thought, but maybe if when I was 21, when I was 22, 23, you know, I wish I had someone to tell me what I'm telling you. So I really do hope that you take this information to heart and really think deeply. Use the business model canvas to think about who your customer is. Think about creating multiple canvases for different customers, because it just really helps you to make progress and avoids overwhelming your brain. So yeah, and I guess I never thought of it before, but it also takes away the procrastination that you might face when you think about writing a 60-page business plan. Investors will never ever read those. They'll probably read your executive summary. And you know, you could populate your executive summary using your business model canvas. And of course, you can actually show your business model canvas with your investors as well, and your customers. Why not? I like to look at startup experience as a co-creation experience. You create it with your customers, with your investors, with your team. Everybody has the same vision. It's just, you know, if you just take that mindset, that approach, it's really refreshing. It's really different, and again, that will set you apart from the rest of the crowd. And of course, if you're a student and you're looking for a graduate job, you've taken part in the startup student race, you have this wonderful experience to set you apart from other graduates who are going for, you know, high paying, ambitious jobs, because you've shown initiative, drive, and intellectual smarts to implement the learning or and avoid the mistakes that other people have made. So that's time up. Yeah, so our next session is how to discover great co-founders. So come back to this page at 4:30. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. Cheers, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.